Hey guys, welcome to A Little Bit of Monica. Today I have some very special books to be talking about, and they are ones that you can have on your radar in the upcoming month because the three books that I am going to be telling you about today are books that I read from my NetGalley list that will be releasing in the month of March. So I read these as arcs in my February arc vlog. So I'm going to share my thoughts as I was reading through the book here with you today, and hopefully by the end you will have a good idea of whether or not these books might be right for you. The three books that I will be focusing on for this video in particular are The Undoing of Violet Claybourne by Emily Critchley. This is kind of a historical fiction mystery kind of story. Then This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Winstead, which is a true crime kind of thriller. And then finally I Would Die For You by Sandy Jones, which is another thriller that takes place in two different timelines. So if any of these books might interest you, watch on so that you can see my reading experience as I was going through these books, seeing how they made me feel, seeing my opinions by the end, and hopefully you will find some new books to be excited about because they will be coming out so soon within the month of March. But without any more delay, let's roll those tapes. I am starting my very first NetGalley arc of February. This book comes out at the beginning of March. I think it's the 4th, maybe. And I'm going to go through my expectations for this book. It is The Undoing of Violet Claybourne by Emily Critchley. Now, from what I understand, this is a historical fiction. That's about what I've got for it so far. I don't actually know a whole lot about this, so starting off my expectations is kind of hard because do I have any? I'm a little nervous about this book. That's my expectation, is that I'm going in with a bit of nervousness because I don't always do well with historical fiction. I believe there is supposed to be some element of mystery and suspense to this story, but I don't actually know what it's supposed to be. I am 67% of the way through, and I'm having the worst time figuring out how I feel about this book. It took a long time for the story to pick up to the point where I really cared about what was happening. So much of the first half of the book was a lot of setup of the family and like just slow introduction of the fact that Jillian is spending the holidays with the Claybourne family, but like nothing was happening. It was a lot of setting the scene, setting the characters. Then things start to pick up, and I'm glad things have started to pick up in the last like 25%-ish of the book. So basically something terrible happens and somebody dies, and the rest of this book is basically some of the characters trying to cover up what happened, but they're doing it in like one of the most painful ways. Like I'm viscerally uncomfortable. I am nervous. I hate what they're doing. I hate what these characters are saying and what they're doing. It makes me so uncomfortable. But I don't think it's making me dislike the book because it's not like what they're doing is being portrayed as like good. It's obvious that you're not supposed to support the decisions that are being made in this book, but at the same time it is so uncomfortable to be reading about the way that they're treating people and treating each other, and I just like I don't know. I still have 33% of this book left, and I don't know what is gonna happen. I do feel like as far as the plot picking up, like it does make me want to keep reading, but based on how they're all acting, like I hate every single character in this book. I hate them all. And this is just very complicated for me. I will continue forward and see where the story is going to go. But this last portion is really going to determine how I feel about this book overall. Because so far, my head is everywhere. I don't know what to think. I don't know what to feel. The thing that happened, the tragedy that happened was so shocking. My jaw dropped and I was speechless. I did not see it coming, or I guess I saw it coming, but I didn't know what was gonna happen from it, and I certainly did not see them going the angle that they are. So it certainly got me on like the twists and the suspense and the tension, but I really hate the actions of these characters, and it just makes me so uncomfortable. But I will let you know how I feel when I finish the book and see if this is all worth it, because discomfort is not an inherently bad thing in reading, but I need something to happen in the end that's going to make this worth it, to make this feeling not linger, you know? So I'll let you know when I get to that point, and hopefully this ends well. I just finished reading my first arc of February. I still have 2 more to go after this, but that's a problem for tomorrow's Monica. I was so shocked by how the last portion of this book went. I was kind of enjoying it. I was really getting into the story, and I had mentioned before that I was feeling very uncomfortable with a lot of the characters' behaviors, the way they were treating each other, and that didn't change. I was still very uncomfortable with all of that. However, the last third of this book was so insane. It was so twisty and unhinged in so many ways. And I thought that it built an incredible story. I had a really great time with it. I ended up giving this book 4 stars, like 3.75 to 4, just because some of the actions of the characters were so extreme that it made me uncomfortable. But I also acknowledged that that was the point. You were supposed to know that these characters were terrible. You know what I mean? Like it's supposed to feel awful what they're doing. And it did. They were terrible. But the way that this story unfolds, there are so many secrets that get revealed. There are so many twists. And just in general, like, I feel like this is marketed kind of as like a historical mystery kind of book, and that is very valid, but I also feel like the level of suspense in this book kind of leans a little bit more thrillery at times, because there's a lot going on. There is a tragedy that happens, and there's an investigation into that tragedy. There's a lot of manipulation, and all of that leads into even more problems. Like, that's not the end. Like, there is still so much more, because the more you learn about the characters and the more you see the full scope of their lives, like, things are just so insane. The story is told in multiple timelines. So it starts off in 1999, and the main character is an adult. And we know that she's kind of like thinking back to her time meeting this family and staying with them for the holidays. So then we jump into the past timeline, which is 1939, I believe, when she is on holiday with her friend and staying with the family. And that's when everything unfolds. And so we follow the storyline for a good portion of the book. But the last section actually does a time jump a couple of years later. So I think it's 3 years later, so 1942, 43, and we get another slew of events. And this section was so good. It was so interesting. It was a little bit faster paced than some of the other sections. And ultimately, like, I feel like this particular timeline was really instrumental to understanding the rest of the book, to understanding everything that was happening and why. But then we jump back into the 1999 timeline to be able to look back at the full picture and see how everything kind of plays out at the end. It's an insane ending. It's an insane book. I am still shocked at some of the things that happened. I cannot believe that there was a time at the beginning of this book where I contemplated DNFing because it was slow. It's not something I typically would pick up for myself without recommendation, but I ended up really, really liking this book. I feel like it was a solid historical thriller with mystery and a lot of conversation about like really serious concepts, really serious issues that were not yet explored fully during that time. And so there's a lot of like question and a lot of stigma and taboo, I think, about a lot of stuff that happens in the book. And it's because it was a product of its time. Of like the things that were happening during those years, they just didn't understand a lot of things that we do now. And so all of that blends together into this incredible book that, like, I was shocked by how it all came together, and the number of times my jaw was dropped when like a big reveal happened or like anything. I thought it was great, and I had a lot more fun with this than I thought I was going to. Did I still hate every single character? Absolutely. Like, every single one of them. I think maybe by the ending, there was like one character that I didn't like actually have issues with, but I was supposed to hate them. Like, that's the point. So I think this book did exactly what it was trying to do, and I am really happy for that. So if you like historical fiction, historical mystery, thriller vibes, a really messy house, because that's we are getting into this really, really messy family dynamic. If that is your cup of tea, this book could do really well for you. But the first third, I would say, is pretty slow in setting up the characters, who they are, where they are at the house, and just understanding kind of the background there. But if you get through that first third, the rest is going to carry so fast, and it's going to be a wild ride. So there you have it, The Undoing of Violet Claybourne by Emily Critchley. It is time for another ARC update on This Book Will Bury Me. This book will, in fact, bury me, I fear. I'm having an incredible time reading this. I'm sitting at around like 40 to 50%. I'm not exactly sure. And when I tell you, this book has me gripped. Like, I am foaming at the mouth. I love this book already. It is so captivating. The way that Ashley Winstead is writing this story, the setup of everything, I mean, the plot itself is interesting, but it's the way the plot is kind of unraveled and the way this book is written. It is about true crime. Like, that is the foundation. And the main character, it's like they're writing their own kind of like autobiography, like memoir about the true crime situations that they found themselves in, as far as like a true crime investigator. And they're telling this as a story of, this is what happened to me and this is how we get to this point. But the whole time, you know that something astronomical happened. You know that there is something terrible, some sort of life-changing, newsworthy type of event that happens, and the story is told kind of leading up to that. Like, you're probably wondering how we came here, and like, here's where it started, and it's just feeding the tension and the suspense. It's killing me. The suspense is killing me to just not know what exactly we are dealing with and like what is going to unfold. But essentially, the main character finds herself in a true crime community. She kind of dives in headfirst into this true crime community and helps to solve a local crime, and then goes from there and really falls into it, becomes really close friends with a couple of other investigators, the armchair sleuths. But there is, throughout the book and in real life too, there is this battle between true crime armchair sleuths, investigators, and the police, and this battle between like who has rights to different things, who's doing it correctly, and there's a lot of beef between the police and the true crime community, and it's definitely reflected in this book very, very well. So we are meeting these core characters who are very, very involved in the community, and we are seeing the impact that they have on different cases. And I know things are building. I know that there's like a specific case that they have been building up to where something is going to go wrong, or I don't know, something's going to happen that's going to make the story explode even more. And I cannot wait to get to that point and like really find out everything. But so far, just like reading these characters, getting to know them, and from like almost a 2D perspective, because we are learning it through the eyes of the main character, who obviously does not know everything. And so like, I'm just really, really enjoying this. I also really like the structure of this book and the actual setup. Because of the nature of true crime investigation, a lot of things happen online. And so a lot of the text is like text exchanges between the main characters on their like network online. And so that is a really fun kind of way to break things up. First of all, the chapters are super freaking short and it's amazing. 5 to 10 minute chapters are a dream come true. But a lot of the chapters also include these message exchanges online. So that breaks up the chapters a little bit more, and I really like the setup. So I'm having a fantastic time reading this book, and I just know it is going to continue being incredible, keeping me absolutely on the tip of my toes. Like, I don't know what to expect. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm so worried, and I'm invested in these cases, the way that these characters are and the way that the like details are unfolding. I love this. Ashley Winstead is amazing, and this book is just another example of that. I cannot wait to keep going. So I'm going to jump back into it today, and then I will keep you updated along the way. I am the only one in the office. It's time to do a quick update. I got some coffee for this morning. I am so tired. This is a brown sugar iced coffee from Dunkin'. It's not my favorite today. I feel like it was made not the best. I don't know. It's still okay. And it's still gonna give me what I need to get through this Monday. But this is my coffee, and I have an update on This Book Will Bury Me. I'm like 70-ish%, 75 maybe. And this book is insane. I am having so much fun reading this. It is making me feel like I myself am an armchair sleuth, and not that I want to necessarily be involved in true crime, but I love that feeling of like being able to figure things out and solve mysteries, solve crimes along with the characters. And a lot of times when I'm reading a thriller or a mystery, I am trying to solve everything before the character does, or like before the big reveal happens. And so with this story, it's really hard to do that because the book is laid out in a way that we are not given the information that we need, but we are also hinted at things that are happening because the way the story is written in like a memoir, like looking back at the experiences from the main character's perspective. We are also getting her like sidebar comments of like, if only we had known what this was gonna mean later on. And I'm like, what does that mean? What is it gonna mean? And it makes me super excited to find out what's going to happen in the last like quarter of this book. It's going to be so good. I just know it. I know this is going to be insane because they are following such a high profile case at this point. They are very, very involved, and really like everything is just over the top with this book. All of the characters are very strong personalities. They have to be in this situation with what they're all doing. But in general, like the case is so interesting. There's so many details to latch onto. And truly this feels like it's not even supposed to necessarily be a mystery that we're trying to solve, but also it is, because that's the nature of what true crime is. Like the true crime community taking these, you know, situations, these cases, and trying to work alongside with the police. Oh my gosh, it's insane. I know I'm rambling, but like this book is insane. It's giving me every feeling that I want out of like a thriller or a mystery all wrapped up, but the perspective that it's told in, as we know that things are going to explode. Like we just know, because the main character is writing this as the narrator in a like point of view of looking back at the past. It's just brilliantly done, and I cannot wait to see how the end of this book is going to come, and I will absolutely be fawning over it as I make my way through the ending. Oh my gosh, I just can't wait to tell you how I feel about this at the end, because I'm really hoping that it's going to live up to everything that I'm feeling right now. Like I hope it's not going to let me down in the ending. I don't think it will. It's Ashley Winstead, but here's to hoping that the rest is going to be just as good as the book has been so far. Oh my god. Oh my god. I just finished reading This Book Will Bury Me. It is 11:30 p.m. I am exhausted. My eyes are like ready to fall out of my head, but I can't go to bed without talking about this, because this book will bury me. No, this book did bury me. I want to be buried with this book. This was everything. This thrillery goodness was so brilliant. I feel like my brain is exploding, melting. Oh my gosh. This was a spectacular criminal investigation, thrillery mystery vibe. I'm obsessed with the story. The actual plot of following these true crime people as they are trying to solve the mystery, trying to solve this case, and the intricacies of the background, like knowing that the true crime community had such a negative kind of opinion, public opinion, opinion from the law enforcement, and the way that they had to combat that and work almost harder to prove that they were useful. I loved this plot line. I loved their dedication to figuring everything out. And I thought it was so fascinating to see the difference between approaches from the law enforcement and, I mean, like local law enforcement and the FBI and these armchair sleuths that just got such a bad rep. But oh my gosh, the way that it all panned out, the details that came together, I would like to say that I did, in fact, manage to solve the crime pretty early compared to the characters. I was able to figure it out before they did the big reveals, which I love being able to do. I know it's not like that big of an accomplishment because the details are laid out if you are really paying attention. And I just love doing this when I read thrillers, mysteries. I really, really love that feeling of like, I was right. I knew it. And I about lost my mind when everything was coming together in the last portion of the book. The way that the details work together, it was impeccable. Oh my gosh. I loved this. I loved the feeling of, as a reader, I could read this book and feel like I was on the case with them. I felt like I was truly experiencing this investigation on the ground with these people, getting to see inside all of the details. And it was so much fun, giving me like the feeling that I get when I watch a crime show. I love Criminal Minds. It's one of my favorite shows. I have rewatched it many, many times. I love watching that show and getting to watch the investigations and how the characters are working on solving these cases. And I feel like this book was nailing the vibe that I get as a watcher of that show and getting to see them do it. And because I am a visual reader, I am picturing it in my head, almost like a show or a movie as it's going. So I'm picturing the story as I'm reading, and I'm getting to kind of participate in this investigation because I am understanding the story as it is revealed. But I mentioned before, and I still stand by, one of the stronger elements of this story is the fact that it is told in hindsight because of the narration of Jane telling the entire story and hinting at where things are going, like knowing when she says things like, if only we had known, and oh, we were so wrong about this, but it still doesn't give anything away. Like, those comments are threaded in the story without giving away any specific details of what is going to unfold. And I just think it was so brilliantly done. I am obsessed. I am obsessed with this story. I need this book in my hands right now. I am so sad that it's not out yet, but I'm so freaking excited. This book comes out on March 25th. If you like thrillers, mysteries, crime shows, true crime, trying to solve the mystery along with the characters, you are going to love this book because you get to really be in their mind. And it's kind of like a multimedia style because you are seeing a lot of messages being exchanged online, things like that. If you like Ashley Winstead and any of those elements that I said, you're going to love this book because it is so fun. And I just think her mind is brilliant for putting the details together like she did. Oh my God. I'm going to be thinking about this book for so long. Like, so long. I don't think you understand. I don't think I understand. My brain is still exploding. I'm gonna need a couple days to fully process everything, but I love this book. If you couldn't tell, it's getting 5 stars, like without a doubt. That should not be a surprise based on everything I've said. Good morning. It is only a good morning because I have my coffee in hand. I made some Polar Peppermint Dunkin' coffee this morning with the sweet cream cold foam, like in the whipped cream can. I love that stuff. I use it instead of creamer now. It's delicious and it makes my coffee amazing. So I am excited to have my coffee because I'm exhausted today. It's something about, like, it's a very overcast day. It's very cold. I was nice and warm and cozy in the blankets and I didn't want to get up. I had to forcibly roll myself out of bed this morning and force myself to walk across the house to my office so that I could start working because I'm a responsible adult. So I will be working today, but I also have a little bit of time this morning because I did get up a little early. So I am going to be starting my next book. This is my last arc for February, and this one is I Would Die for You by Sandy Jones. Now this book, so this one, I'm going to be honest, I don't really know a lot about the synopsis. I read it multiple times, like a couple weeks ago, and I still don't actually know much about what this book is going to be about, but I have another book by Sandy Jones on my shelf and I never read it. So if I like this book, it means I will go back and read the other one that I have from her. So this one, from what I understand, and the reason that I took this arc in the first place is because it's about a British boy band, and hello, I love boy bands, love British boy bands, so why not? So I think this book is going to take place in 2 timelines. There's an original timeline where, like, I think a girl goes missing, maybe, and then the later timeline with the boy band. That doesn't sound right. I don't know. I know there's 2 timelines, which are very hit or miss for me. I do like when there are 2 timelines in a story because I feel like we're getting a really rounded kind of perception of the situation and what's going on, but you're getting it in a very fun way of, like, piecing things together. But by the end of the story, you have this very well-rounded kind of viewpoint of everything. So I do like when there are 2 timelines, but I was honestly a little confused when I was reading the synopsis. I was a little confused with how the 2 were going to coincide, like how they were going to relate. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. I saw the words British boy band and there was no hesitation. I hit yes and I took the book. So maybe that's gonna come back to bite me in the butt because I don't actually know anything about what this book is gonna be about other than a missing girl, but We're gonna find out. So that is my goal for today, is to start this book. I am gonna be reading it over the course of a couple of days because I'm buddy reading this one with Michelle because we both got the ARC for this. So I am going to be taking my time reading it. But I am excited to finally get to this one because I've had it for a while and it's gonna be coming out next month. And also boy bands. That's about it. So me and my coffee are gonna settle in for a little bit of reading this morning before I get started with work, and then we'll see how much time I can read during work as the day goes on. But as always, I will keep you updated. Anyway, cheers, and I'll talk to you later. I am now 50% of the way through I Would Die For You, and now I have a very good grasp on what this story is actually about. I have been reading 25% a day for 2 days now, so what I understand now, there are 2 timelines in this story, which I knew from the beginning, but the first timeline is 1986 London, and the other timeline is California 2010. So the past timeline, we are following a 16-year-old girl named Cassie and her older sister Nicole. Cassie is unhealthily obsessed with a British boy band. They are like the biggest band of their generation, wildly popular, wildly troublesome, and she is unhealthily obsessed to the point where she is delusional enough to think she has a chance with them, even though they are obviously older than her and obviously famous. Anyway, flash to the present timeline, the 2010 story, and we are following Nicole and her husband and daughter. And Nicole is alluding to some secrets that she's been keeping for a long time, and the past is starting to catch up with her. She's faced with somebody who starts asking questions, and she is nervous that her secrets are going to be unveiled. We don't know what those secrets are, though. As the reader, we do not know what the secrets are. We know that something must have happened in the past, and we slowly start to get details as the story unfolds as to what might have happened in the past. And obviously the past timeline is leading up to what really happened so that we know what the present timeline is talking about. This book is like just over 320 maybe pages, so it's very quick, and honestly, I need a quick book every once in a while. So I am really having fun with this, but it also makes me viscerally uncomfortable because of how awkward and delusional teenage Cassie is. Every time she's interacting with this band, I want to hide under a rock. I am just so uncomfortable by it. But also, it's for the story, and I like the way that it builds suspense into things that we don't yet know that are coming. So I'm excited to keep going. I am going to jump back into this book tomorrow to read the next 25%, and I will update you once I have either exploded over big reveals or maybe when the book is over and I have my final thoughts, but I will check in later as always. I just finished I Would Die For You, and if I'm being honest, I would absolutely not die for this book. This book was underwhelming and disappointing from what I expected it to be. I'm only giving this 2 to 2.5 stars. I wish I could say it was better, but unfortunately I was not having fun in the second half of this book, which is crazy because the first half I was liking. I liked the way that the story was going. It was uncomfortable, but like it was kind of an okay discomfort. But the second half really picked up to the point where I just hated all of it. I hated every single character. I think that's one of the strongest criticisms I have of this book, is that there's not a single character that I liked and was rooting for. Every single character is manipulative, verbally, emotionally, or physically abusive, and or just so unhinged and delusional that their life feels like a caricature. And I just felt like I couldn't latch on to any one character. I couldn't like them, and it was so difficult to be spending so much time with these couple of characters, especially like the main people, and just not like any of them. In the original timeline of 1986, in the past, Cassie is so delusional and unhinged, and it's uncomfortable to see the way that she truly believes that she is in a personal and intimate relationship with a celebrity. Genuinely so concerning the way that this girl behaves, and the fact that her obsession is the catapult for literally everything else in the entire book. Then fast forwarding to the present timeline with her older sister Nicole, now as an adult, looking back on the 1986 timeline and what had happened, the incident that we don't actually find out about until the last like 10% of the book, and begin to put all these pieces together. But Nicole, in that present timeline as an adult, as a wife and a mother herself, she is starting to finally unveil some of the secrets that she's been holding on to, the lies that were told from the original incident timeline. And honestly, I just feel like sometimes it felt like the story was not cohesive. The secrets and lies that were told, like 25 years later, like it just feels like these these things are not connecting the way that I think they were supposed to. I kind of hated the way that it was all revealed, and it was all revealed so fast. It's like bang, 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 here's what happened, and here's how it was all a lie. I just feel like it was so hard to tell truth from lie. And as a reader, I just felt confused by a lot of what happened in the second half, because there were times where like a scene would happen and I'd read it, and then the next chapter would make it seem like the chapter I just read was fake or like was a lie. And now I'm like very confused as to like what's reality and what, I don't know. It was just not a good experience reading the second half of this book specifically. I especially don't like the ending. I just really didn't care for how this concluded. And that's also largely because I didn't care about any of the characters and I didn't like any of the characters. So it was just very difficult to get through. I was just happy to be finished with this book. It just was a very weak thriller in my opinion, because a thriller needs to make sense. Even if it's twisty, you should be able to then backtrack and think about how all of it has worked together throughout the length of the book. But I feel like looking back, knowing what I know at the end, the rest of the book just kind of feels inconsequential and underwhelming knowing how it ends. So I just like did not have fun with this book, which is disappointing because I have another Sandy Jones book on my shelf, and I was thinking once I finished this, I would read that one and like kind of compare with this author, but I have no intention of reading the other Sandy Jones book. I'm going to be getting rid of it because I don't like her writing style. I didn't like how this was puzzled out, so I'm not even going to try this other one. I just don't want us. It is coming out in March. If you like Sandy Jones and you like her writing already, you may end up liking this. I was very excited about the like boy band element, and I just feel like that whole situation was just so caricatured that I could not really like latch onto it very strongly. But at least I finished it. I was just really excited to be done. But that's it. That's all I got for this book. But with this being my last arc, that means that's the end for this vlog. I am so thankful to have had these books to read this month, and I'm glad that I had a bit of a range of experiences with them. Considering they were all thrillers, which is crazy, like I feel like I get a lot of thriller arcs, even though I don't read thrillers like normally. I'm not picking up thrillers a lot, but I do love them every once in a while. So these arcs are nice to kind of throw in a couple of thrillers here and there. And even though I didn't end up liking this last one, I really did end up liking Violet Claybourne as 4 stars, and This Book Will Bury Me as 5 stars. That book is going to sit with me for a long time. I really liked both of them, but obviously the Ashley Winstead just had me gripped in a way that thrillers don't typically achieve with me, and that just made me so excited. So I am very excited for some of these books to be coming out in March. If any of these interested you, please make sure that you are looking out for their release dates so that you can grab copies of them when they are out. I already have my Ashley Winstead pre-ordered, so I'm very excited about that, but I also may look into getting Violet Claybourne because of how much I ended up liking that one as well. I would love to hear your thoughts. If any of these books sound interesting to you, I would love to hear that you are, planning on buying them. If you already have them pre-ordered, I'd love to know that as well. So I want to thank you for being here and watching this video and supporting me every second of the way. But I also invite you to follow along with me. You can subscribe if you want to keep up with my future videos, where I will continue to be reading arcs and sharing my thoughts on them as I go, so that we can celebrate those release dates as they come. I would love to have you along with me for that journey. But for now, I do want to thank you for being here for this video, for watching, and I really hope that I will see you in the next one. Bye!